This is Jaydawizard, and you're listening to the Big Easy Sport Talk Podcast.
Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Yeah, we in the black and gold to the Super Bowl. We're gonna win till we can't no more. Got robbed last year, but we're back for more. We're gonna win till we can't no more. The black and gold is coming back. We're ready to attack. Ain't taking no more L's cause we've had enough.
Okay, Big Easy Sports Talk listeners, we have a special guest today. This is jaydawizard. He is the artist behind the new single, Black and Gold, Old Town Road Remix. jaydawizard, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing quite fine.
All right, man. We appreciate you coming on the show. I know that you just put this out about a few days ago, so we wanted to be make sure that we were the first guys to kind of talk to you about it. But I wanted to ask you about the song. I listened to, if you're not familiar with him, make sure to check him out on Facebook. He's got his video posted there. He's also got songs, I believe, on Spotify and other media networks. Did you write the song fairly quickly after first hearing the Old Town Road, the original song?
Actually, I heard the song like a lot before I actually came up with the idea, and like I remembered back whenever I did my first sing song, hit that motorbike, like after the no-call play and everything that went down. My producer's mom was like, "You should write a song about the no-call," and like she was like, kind of joking, kind of serious with it, but I was like, yeah, I could, but I couldn't really think of nothing at the time. And whenever Old Town Road came out, and then I started singing, I was like, man, this song is like really popping, and it's like on top of the charts and everything right now. And I don't know, like the lyrics just started coming to me, and I was like, wait, I could write a song about the no call to this.
You're pretty much on the Saints Got Robbed on that list, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I know when we, when we first watched it, I think everybody was just upset. I think we've all kind of cooled down now, and we've kind of just accepted it, and we're all ready, for the next season. Is that still going through your mind? Are you still mad about it, or are you just using that for motivation and hoping Drew Brees just takes us out on all of our opponents this week?
I'm not upset about it anymore. Like, I was very furious the day it happened. I can't even lie. Like, I almost tore the steering wheel out of my car. But like I'm good. I'm over it now. It was just like that moment in time when everything was just heated up and everything was going so good, and then all of a sudden, bam, this happens. And I mean, it wasn't the only call. I felt like that was missed in the whole game, but so it was just the most obvious one.
I mean, they did come out with the new rule, this year for the pass interference rule. I mean, it doesn't do much to help us, but is there anything to that new rule or is there just kind of like a way to get out of an apology?
I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I kind of feel like it's maybe a way to get out of it, but I haven't been really thinking about it like lately. Like those lyrics just came into my head. It was like there was just like a part I could put into the song. You know what I'm saying? I felt like everybody would remember that. Obviously nobody really forgot about it, And it was just like, okay, the song was basically meant to be like a hype song for the Saints, but at the same time kind of like, hey, y'all don't forget what happened. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna crush it this time.
Yeah, and a lot of people will say, oh, it's just an opportunity for somebody to come in and make a Saints song and kind of cash in on that. But if you listen to like at least 3 or 4 of your songs, it's all New Orleans Saints, and New Orleans and Mardi Gras and that hit that motorbike song. So I mean, it's obvious that you're a fan of New Orleans. You're here. You're a Who Dat Nation member. Yeah. So I mean, I see that you're from Lafayette. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So are you doing any shows? Are you doing any kind of promotions over there or in that area?
I feel like I get more like I get taken more seriously out of town by people who don't know me versus people who know me. Some kind of situation like that. New Orleans. I have people in like Texas, Mississippi, like all over the place. I even got some people that's out of like country.
I mean, we have so much reach and so many things with social media that we can post that stuff. It's crazy out there how much you can actually be heard with a song. Just that song alone right now. I haven't looked at it in the last 5 minutes, but before that, I had it on. I think like the Facebook views. It was showing here about 300,000. I think the last time we talked, it was about at 267 or something like that. So, like I told you, privately, I think it'll hit in the double digit millions and about at least 10 million by the time August hits around. So, be ready for people and producers and whoever to knock on your door once that happens. Things are gonna start happening soon for you.
Music is like my life. Like, it's pretty much the only thing that I ever wanted to do. Like, I even got in trouble in school, like, because every class I was in, instead of doing my homework I was writing lyrics and stuff. And my teacher would always be like, if you focus on your classwork, like you focus on music, you'd be a genius. Yeah, I know I needed to, get some education, but like some of the stuff that they was teaching, it was just like, okay, this doesn't really apply to my music.
Music and Saints. And if you're a big fan of hip hop and the Saints, this is a great episode for you guys listening. Again, I have Jaydawizard on here for his song Black and Gold, Old Town Road Remix. Make sure to go ahead and take a look at that on Facebook. If you had to say, if you were a Saints fan out of 1 out of 10, or 1 to 10, where do you think you rank on that?
I'll say about an 8, because like I was off and on with sports. It wasn't that I wasn't with that team. It's just for a long period of time I didn't watch like TV. I didn't really watch TV. I was all about like doing my music and stuff, and family members and exes and stuff like that got me into it. It was like, oh, you need to watch this, you need to watch it. I'm like, okay, let me see what it's about, And then I started watching it, and I was just instantly hooked, and I was just like, every game I want to watch.
What was your first Saints moment? Like, whether that being like a game you went to or a moment you're like, oh man, this is exciting.
Like a little bit before they made it to the Super Bowl the first time they won. That's when I kind of got into football and stuff, and I started watching the games, and I was like, yeah, that was like the biggest moment. Like we was partying hard. We was running down the street whenever they won the Saints game, like just yelling at the top of our lungs, like late at night. And I'm like, man, I really love this. I love sports now. Well, football and hockey was my two like sports that I like.
Which hockey team's your favorite?
Well, at the time, I liked the Ice Gators was my team. I mean, my home team, but they don't exist no more. So I used to play a little bit too. I played ice and I played roller.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I did a little deep dive on you. I try whenever people come on, I try to do as much as I can, researching and getting as much information as I can. And the one thing that I noticed is that turning 30 this year. How do you feel about that?
I feel a little bit older, but everybody says I still look younger, so I'm happy with that.
October 12th. Mine's September 25th, same year, 1989. So you're right on after me, man. With the music and all, I'm a huge fan of music, whether it's hip hop, rock, alternative. We have a big scene in New Orleans, for Lil Wayne, Juvenile. I was listening to some of your stuff, and I definitely heard. I picked up in the I think in your Mardi Gras "Throw Me Something, Mr. Song." I definitely picked up a little bit of that. It sounded a little bit old school, Juvenile, Hot Boys kind of stuff going on. I could definitely feel that. Who's really like some of your biggest inspiration?
Michael Jackson is one of my inspirations, and I listen to a lot of Lil Wayne coming up, and I like Kevin Gates. I like Joyner Lucas, especially Joyner, because I just like his style. Like I like to do fast rap, but like I've recently was like, okay, let me slow it down. Let me do some simpler stuff. Just because of how the industry is today and stuff. So I'll do like a catchy hook and like a mediocre verse, and then but I'll have parts in there that's just like, okay, this is me, so I can do this too. But then I'll go back to simple, then I'll, get complicated a little bit. but not too much to confuse the listeners and stuff.
What do you think about the difference in music of right now versus just like even like 10 years ago?
I feel like it's like super simplified now, and like there's not really much thought that goes into it. I'm not bashing them, you know, that's their own style, and I guess you could say their own lane of hip hop. But like it's just not what I grew up on, so I'm trying to get it. I try to get into it a little bit, but I know I can't really do it as an artist because it's not really me. I want to kind of stay true to myself as well, but I also want to, you know, cater somewhat to the now generation, but give a little bit of myself. That's why I say I do a little bit of simple stuff, and then I'll hit them with a little bit of me, you know, like because I like lyrical.
Yeah, I think that's some of the best stuff. I mean, I remember listening, you know, back in the day to somebody like Nas. I used to really like Lupe Fiasco. I used to like people like that really kind of like, you know, told a story within their songs. Very, I guess it's called maybe like conscious rap, I guess some people do call it. But yeah. I really get into that because I really like hearing what they actually have to say rather than it just being a beat and you can just kind of go along with it so it hits on the radio. And those guys did a lot of underground kind of stuff. And, you know, I listen to a lot of your stuff and I'm definitely feeling it. Like it brings me back a bit. So you know, are you coming out with an album after all these singles that you put out?
I was kind of like, maybe I should just release singles because until there's like a higher demand for me, then I release an album. People can't really like attract to just like one song and get used to that song, you know. And then, but if I do singles, I feel like they have time to have that song grow on them, start to like that song if they don't already like it, you know. And then as soon as that buzz dies down for that song a little bit, starts dying down, then drop another one to boost it back up. And then you're like, okay, you drop something new. And it just gives me a longer time span to play with, you know, versus just dropping the album and then that album's just going to have that little time span and that's a whole bunch of songs that I could have just released one at a time and kind of got people familiar with each song.
So you're thinking that you want to do just mostly singles and then just come out with an album with kind of just almost all those songs and maybe just like a plus 2 or 3 kind of thing?
Yes. That way, you know, I'm not pushing too much to the fans at one time, you know. They kind of get, okay, here's this one. Okay, we jamming this one. We like this one. All right, y'all like that one? All right, y'all kind of down on that one. All right, here's another one. It's consistent. Instead of me writing all these songs and having to go and write a whole bunch more songs, which is going to take longer, it gives me more time to promote each song. So that's why I feel like I just want to release singles at the moment. Now, not to say that I don't plan on releasing an album. Eventually, I want to, but for right now, singles is for me, you know. What's
your Saints predictions for this year? Are you thinking Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think Super Bowl because we got too close last year, and just my prediction because of the fact that it's the 10-year anniversary of the last Super Bowl. Why not? You know.
Well, I think they're going to. I think, you know, we can only kind of go through these NFC Championship bumps 1 or 2 times. Now, I finally think the third time's a charm. I think we have the best roster overall than everybody. We just, you know, we're one lucky or unlucky play away from 2 Super Bowls in a row. So I think it's going to happen. But, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, and I think that you're going to knock it out of the park. You already got 300,000 views on this, and like I said, come August, you know, check me out again in August and see if it's at over 10 million, okay?
All right, I definitely will do that.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. Again, if you want to follow him, it's jaydawizard, and you can follow him at jaydawizard89 on Instagram. You can also follow him on Facebook to get any updates and any new songs that come out. And how else can we find you?
Oh, also, I have my website that's up. It's www.jaydawizard.com, and that's DA.
Gotcha, man. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. Our listeners, we have another episode coming on later this week with Aaron Bursky. He is a fantasy expert, and he's going to be on with Nick and Michael. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Hey listeners, we are looking for best friends. That's right, you could be our next best friend. You can do this by following us on iTunes Podcast, and you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you can find clips there as well.